So they finally did it, and we have a second edition coming very soon, much sooner than anyone thought, in a few weeks. And they've been dropping some info on us, and so let's imply implications based on them.
Ooh, I have many things to imply.
For now, it says on the community site that they think it's safe to say that we will like what's in store. And so, I guess we'll be the judge of that. From an expanded hero phase and the addition of a new command point system to a more strategic double turn. First things first, the double turn is staying. I'm sad. To my great chagrin, the double turn is staying. It's getting more strategic, which is cool. And so maybe they'll give advice in the rulebook about how to strategically flip a coin.
Yeah. See, by strategic they mean tiebreakers, right? Like you're going to strategically break a tiebreaker.
Right.
With strategy.
By rolling the
And not just
same
total,
dice, yeah.
Yeah, roll the same fucking dice.
Oh no, I was gonna do here's a dramatic reenactment of the first time I read about the new strategic double turn. Alright, turn priority. Well, if this has to stay, at least I hope it's changing in a meaningful way. Honestly, I would only probably be upset if it was the laziest, most obvious choice that didn't really change anything. Like, I don't know, you win ties or something if you're going to get double turned. This works in much the same way as the new edition, but now if the player gets a draw, the player that went first in the previous battle round wins the roll. Oh, that's it. God.
At least it changes it by like 10%.
Yeah, it's like a 10% less chance. Or, I suppose, yeah, it reduces the number of double turns by a tiny amount. This is dumb.
This is strategy.
How strategic. You win ties without trying to. Yeah. So they realize that it's a problem that needs changing, but then they change it in a way that does nothing. So yeah, expanded hero phase. I'm unsure about this. Currently in the game, I think the hero phase is rather bloated, depending on what army you play.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, a lot of armies don't have a lot to do in their hero phase, but the best ones do.
Right.
And a lot of them have a lot of stuff that's happening in the hero phase. Some armies' hero phases are longer than movement, even considering how many guys they're moving. And so if we're making the hero phase even huger, I'm a little concerned about that, but we've seen nothing about it, so besides unbinding and stuff, so
Yeah, they some of the command abilities go off in different places than just the hero phase now, so that might mitigate it a little bit.
oh yeah. I'm pleased by that, by the way. I like that.
Yeah, so like what is it? Inspiring Presence actually says in the Battle Shock phase.
Right.
So you can use this command ability at the start of the Battle Shock phase, and so like it actually. So this actually moves remembering to use your Inspiring Presence out of your hero phase, and then a little bit later on in the turn, and it makes it either turn. It just says the Battle Shock phase. So I don't know if that's implying that it's either. Or
I think it's
just
both,
yours.
yeah.
You
I think
think
it
it's
means
both? Yeah.
I think it means you can use your command points on your opponent's turn.
Mm-hmm.
And so you actually get stuff to do on your opponent's turn. I like this change for Inspiring Presence as well, because it puts when you use something and when it matters at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
When do you use it? When it matters, when you're about to roll for it. Okay then, like that's nice.
It's a very logical choice. Also, it helps with it kind of helps against like certain like Alpha Strike house Alpha Strike attacks the House of Cards before you can
Yeah.
even have the option of using your Inspiring Presence.
Mhm.
So now you can spend a resource and use this like reactionarily, and I think it adds a little bit more of a tactical play than just lost the die roll, time to watch my things get blown up.
Yeah, this actually hurts the all-in Alpha Strike lists that want to go first and are one drop so they can decide to, and then get to Battle Shock off your big units for free. By putting it in the Battle Shock phase, there's less of that.
Yeah.
Now, it has the secondary effect of, it used to be you would Inspiring Presence your 140-man unit, and your opponent's like, okay, well, I guess I'm not attacking that. I guess I'll attack the one without it on it, and he'll get...
Mm-hmm.
And he'll accomplish something. But now it's like,
Right.
whatever you attack, I'm just going to choose that to be inspired. So,
Mm-hmm.
this favors defensive playstyles in a way.
Control. We'll call it
But no,
control.
I think it's fine. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
command points are probably going to be pretty precious. And you probably don't want to be using them at all on Battleshock, if you can help it.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I mean,
so,
it's resource management
yeah.
and risk assessment, and all those things are very important to tactical games, maintaining balance and variance of play. So I'm for it.
Yeah. And pinpoint strikes become a little worse, just in a vacuum. It's more about spreading out your damage. Command abilities and command points.
This is one of the things I'm the most interested to find out how it really shakes out. They've teased a couple of abilities and a couple changes, like we were already talking about with Inspiring Presence. I'd like to know what else, like kind of like what some of the army-specific command abilities would look like. If they're going to be like really neat, like combos with some of the stuff your army's doing. I'd be interested in stuff like that. I know I've heard some people like, oh, I don't want combos in my game. They're already there.
Combos are fun.
They're fun.
This makes combos cost resources, which seems perfectly fine to me. We don't, again, like you said, we don't know how many command abilities like they told us these 3 that every army have available to them, but it could be that every faction just has, right by their army list, it's just got like, 2 command abilities that are specific to Iron Jaws or specific to Khorne or whomsoever, Like, this isn't all of them, this is just an example, but a really important part that a lot of people are glazing over about these new command abilities, Inspiring Presence, at the double, Forward to Victory, these require heroes to be near the unit, all of them. 6 inches for a friendly hero, or 12 for the general itself. And so these aren't just, oh, that unit over there in the battle shock. No, you got to have dudes near your guys.
Well, they're actually encouraging you to play more strategically, straight up, just with like how you deploy and stuff. And
Well, they're encouraging you to play more like what an army might look like, without being too formation, locked in place like Warhammer Fantasy was. Trying to look historically accurate with armies and stuff and formations and only moving, and it costs movement to rotate and stuff. Like, that's the one end of the spectrum, which I feel is too much, especially for a game as fantastic as this. And I mean that in an aesthetic way, not like it's good. The other end of the spectrum is like daisy chains of wiggly spaghetti noodle dude placement everywhere, which, man, a lot of people find distasteful when they're considering getting into the game. Like, they walk past a game of Age of Sigmar, and there's a line of 33 dwarves in an S pattern from one hero to another to an objective, and they're just like, what the fuck is happening? Things moving from within to wholly within, if that's the case, means that people are going to have to start putting their guys on the table in ways that make any sense at all and doesn't look dumb. And I think it's in GW's best interest to do this. And so having heroes need to be within 6 to use your command abilities, and having wholly within be for some of the abilities to even function, this is going to make the game look more sensical. And when people are walking past a table, that's when you want the game to look the best. You don't want it to look spaghetti. And so I get why they're really going for this, I feel.
I don't know if Wholly Within is the way. Like, we saw it with IDK.
True, it's an open question whether we're moving to wholly within for a lot of the things or not. I think maybe some will, maybe some won't.
DOK didn't have a lot of the Wholly Within language, and so these are the two the two battle tomes with the eyes to the future, right? The most, and it's an open question, but in general, I like the idea of command points allowing some interaction in alternate phases. I like that it's a resource, and they do make a nod towards army building for this resource. They mentioned battalions. I really hope that means they're giving other armies battalions, because as it stands, certain ones just don't have any.
Yeah.
The majority have no viable ones, and the ones that have ones that are good are already using them.
Right.
And so maybe, just maybe, we'll see, a dozen or so army-specific command traits at the beginning of GHB, and like just, oh, here, everyone gets 4 battalions that are actually at all remotely plausible.
Yeah. I fully expect GHB 18 to release just a buttload of battalions for all the armies that don't have any, or for the armies that have them but they're really bad or unplayable in most games. It would be kind of a kick in the teeth otherwise, where, you know, if they didn't and were just like, hey, you get extra command points for taking battalions. It's like, okay, so all the best armies just get better. Sweet. Thanks. You know, that'd be no good. At the double, you can use this command ability after you make a run roll for a friendly unit that is within 6 inches of friendly hero, or 12 if it's your general. If you do so, the run roll is treated as being a 6. So importantly, this is after you make the run roll, so you get to see, right? That being said, I don't much care for this one at all. Because it's... like, you have forward to victory, which lets you reroll charges. Which is a great one. The Inspiring Presence and forward to victory are excellent. Make perfect sense. You know, this is a much better way of integrating Inspiring Presence in the game, I think, than the current version. Forward to victory helps mitigate the second most feel-bad roll in the entire game, which is the failed charge. The average failed charge roll is really punishing in this game. And so finding a way to mitigate that while forcing you to spend resources to try to do it is a good change, and I like this option. At the double seems to be the odd man out, because you have a battle shock one and you have a movement one, and then you just have another movement one that's only runs, which seems strange. I think it should be a third thing just for elegance sake. You know, at the double is very useful late game when it becomes almost everybody's dead and you're just kind of scrambling to get to objectives, you know? Yeah, I could have done with a third one that wasn't about movement, but I'm assuming that armies are going to get some custom ones for themselves, so so that's fine. You can spend 50 points to just get a command point at the start of the game. And you can, I believe you can trade one in before the game begins for an artifact. I believe they didn't outright state that, but they heavily implied that you can trade in a command point at the start of the game for an artifact.
This is neat because it kind of brackets the battalions giving you an extra artifact. Like,
Yeah.
what if, so maybe battalions aren't giving you the extra artifact now?
Right.
They're also giving you a command point.
So I think there's plenty of opportunity for battalions to plummet in price, and they should. If they don't affect who goes first anymore in a meaningful way, and they don't give you an artifact, then it's really just about, oh, well, I wanted to use these guys, and I think the ability is good, you know?
Well, what they've just done, though, is they've set the price of an artifact at 50 points. Like, that is what they've just said.
And so a battalion can't cost less than that, that's for sure, right?
Right. So
otherwise it's an artifact for free plus just a bunch of stuff. Although, I don't know, in a perfect world, that's fair. Because you were forced to take specific units to qualify for it, you know? And so in a really balanced world, either you spend your 50 points on an artifact, or you spend your 50 points on an artifact, plus you have to make certain choices, and that is a cost in some way, and so it's balanced. Now, that's definitely not the world we live in, but yeah, I think 50 points is probably the cheapest they'll be.
Well, I understand why battalions have, like, something to do with what units you're forced to take, because the whole point is, like, this is that battalion.
Yeah,
I wish they'd actually
that's perfectly fine.
But they, like I said, it's kind of like the Jack Sparrow thing, where he's like, now we've established, you know, the cost of a soul, and it's bartering from there. It's just bartering over how many. You know, and that's what they're doing by saying that these 50 points can be a command point, which can also be turned into an artifact. So, like, 50 is the number. Okay.
Yeah. So considering how important smaller heroes are in the new edition, in that, you know, you're going to need heroes close by units to be able to use your command abilities on stuff, then it's no wonder why they decided to soften sniping a little bit. Do I even want to say this? Yeah, fine. Character sniping is something that received a huge amount of complaints in the greater community, yet was purely a case of get good in 99% of the situations, and not truly a game-wide problem. If it was a problem at all, it was a problem about specific units in the entire game, not the idea of shooting itself, or at 100-point heroes, who are fantastically undercosted when you consider how force multiplying their abilities really are.
Right.
But that's just not the way people think. When they spend their 100 points on immunity to battle shock and +1 attack for everybody in a 36-inch diameter, they think that's worth that. When that's like massively undercosted considering what they're getting out of it. And so if you don't have counterplay to try to kill that guy, then you're just sort of like 2 Death Stars where you have 3 massive regiments and then 6 buff heroes behind them, and your opponent has 3 massive regiments and 6 buff heroes behind him, and your guys are just sort of smearing paint on each other's face, which is what the game could have become if they had made the huge mistake to adopt 40k's targeting of character rule, which is just you can't, straight up. You can't target a character unless it's the closest guy.
Well, that's because they don't wear helmets.
Which in a game like Sigmar would mean that heroes are invincible for the entire game. Just straight up invincible, can't be targeted.
Right.
Now, if that only applied to ranged, it would just mean that no one takes any ranged units at all, and everyone takes a bunch of wizards to try to snipe each other with spells.
Mm-hmm.
But if you couldn't target them with that either, then it would be, 6 buff heroes, 1 million guys, and just sort of mashing around in the middle. And that's kind of gross, in my opinion.
Maybe that's what they want, or that's what these people complaining about hero sniping want. They do just want to like run at each other, like Lisa and Bart. Like, I'm just gonna kick the air, and if you get in my way,
right,
I can't help it. And I'm just gonna swing my arms, and like they just want that.
First of all, that's fun, and that's cool for some people, but that's not how, and that's definitely how some armies are supposed to play. Mm-hmm. But that's not how all armies are supposed to play. Like, okay, Beast Claw. I'll just take 3 massive reg... Oh, wait, I don't even have a unit that has the massive regiment rule. Oh, wait, I don't have any heroes that give my guys buffs at all. It'd be like me saying that, the way to play this game is with 4 monsters and then 11 models. Yeah. And anyone who isn't doing that is cheating. And so you shouldn't be able to have any more than 4 models in a unit, because I can't, Like,
yeah, everyone should be.
The armies should be different. Like, you should celebrate their differences.
Yeah, everyone should be casting 8 spells in a turn.
Yeah. You know what? If they're casting any less than 8 spells a turn, then it's going to be a problem moving forward. Like, they're expanding the magic of this game. What a great transition, by the way. Speaking of Nagash, Supreme Lord of the Undead, I'm not playing with any wizards in 2nd Ed so far. I know the chips have to fall, and we've only seen a few previews, but yeah, I don't see the point. Mystic Shield doesn't give +1 to save anymore. It rerolls 1s. Mm-hmm. So the main reason I wanted a wizard is gone. And, like, real armies... What's the way to say this? Real spellcaster armies, Grand Host of Nagash, Nurgle, Tzeentch. These armies have a bunch of wizards and are well known for their magical might. If I'm just playing like 1 or 2 140-point single casters with no bonuses to cast, like, I'm wasting my time. Like, they'll get unbound immediately from 30 inches away for their 1 spell they try to cast, and that's it. It's it's more likely that my opponent unbinds me than I successfully cast a spell, and that's no good. So it's pointless to try, actually. And we're expanding the magic phase, and I'm basically saying I can't hang, I can't compete with the real magic armies. Yeah, and my wizards aren't good enough that I want to play them anyway. So
yeah, but you know who's getting really great? The people who are getting really great are the anti-mage armies, though. Like, that's what's getting buffed by this.
Anti-mage armies are getting a metagame buff because more people are going to play wizards and stuff, and their unbinds are a little better now.
Yeah.
But the people who are already kings of magic become gods of magic, and so I'm scared.
I don't see them becoming gods of magic because, as you stated, you're not bringing spells to the party, so they're really just unbinding each other's spells from 30 inches away and having no fun.
Well, that's why I'm not bringing spells. I think people will try.
Oh,
I mean,
well,
obviously we
wrong.
haven't seen a lot, but at the moment I'm just like, oh, I'm playing against Nagash. Well, I wasted my points on my wizards, because Nagash is just going to beat them in the magic phase, and that's it,
I mean, to be fair, you're spending 800 points on a guy who's a spellcaster. He should probably beat 140.
He is as strong in the magic phase with a 30-inch unbind as he should be for his points and for what he is within the idea of the game. And so it actually makes sense that some bloated gluttonous ogre like choking on spinal columns can't really get a spell in edgewise around this guy. Like, I'm not calling foul on that.
I was informed as Nagash, that I am not allowed to have shooting because I have spells, and so like all of death is just lacking, except for Tomb Kings, in shooting because spells are your range.
Right.
And like I actually take small issue with the everyone gets magic crap. I find the 30 inches to be arbitrary and stupid. So you're upset because Nagash now has a 30-inch unbind, and he's just going to make all your spells trivial. I too am upset. I don't want to take that fun from you. I think 30 inches is excessive.
You wish, like, you're like, look,
I would.
I don't want to take your fun from you. You don't take my fun from me, and then we're even. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're even. This is called balance.
Yeah.
And they're going to do it way more than you think. And now they succeed on their crappy 7 to cast their nerfed Mystic Shield, and like just 30 inches away. So I'm like, just like vomiting, choking on a spinal column ogre.
Yeah.
He's like, no.
And he rolls like boxcars. Got him.
Got him. Like, and
he laughs like fucking Roadhog in a Overwatch.
Yeah, just
yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these changes seem to be, people hate it when your opponent just does something and you don't even get to like roll to see if it doesn't work. Like people hate Mortal Wounds because it just works and they don't get a save. That's why so many people complain about ranged, because you just shoot me from 24 inches away. I can't do anything. Like, you can just cast your spell from 24, so from whatever on your Balewind Vortex, and I can't do anything. And these are the things people hate the most, is when someone's just doing something and they can't even like have the long shot at stopping it.
You're right. I should have a say in how you freaking walk your models forward, and your run check, and your charge check. I should have a say in everything you do in the game, because it feels bad when I'm not playing. If you wanted to
measured response, I guess. Like,
yeah,
I feel 30 inches is a little arbitrary. I wonder how they came to that number.
What it is people got really tired of losing to a Balewind Vortex at the beginning of the game, and I understand that. It is broken, but nerf Balewind Vortex.
Yeah.
Everyone's been that's the problem. Only like 2 armies can use it effectively. The ones that can, like, oh man, my, I can toss a Necromancer on top of a Balewind Vortex and debuff you from further away.
Right.
I'm not erasing one of your units off the table.
Yeah. There's like 3 wizards in the whole game that make Balewind Vortex a problem.
Yep, so it's almost as if...
So either you could nerf all 3 of those wizards and design new wizards moving forward to only have shorter ranges than they should, because you don't want the range doubled and then be invincible to melee, or take out the problem.
Yeah, further making uncasting. By the way, so while we're on the subject of magic being everywhere, so Allied Sigor in a Chaos Force, for instance, provides 2 unbinds from 30 inches, and does mortal wounds to your foes when it pulls them off.
Yeah, Sigors are sweet.
So, like, clearly we need more of this shit just fucking rolling around.
Like, I mean, Sigors could always do that. It was just at 18 instead of 30.
Instead of 30.
And, to be honest, like, the 30-inch instead of 18-inch change, like, you get into unbind range pretty soon in the average game. What this really tries to stop are those, like, turn 1 critical buff spells.
Mm-hmm.
When you're still really far away, you give a shot at, like, I was going to say you get a shot at stopping the Mystic Shield, but Mystic Shield has changed to not be to not be just, like, so fucking good.
Yeah, they already fixed that.
A Lore Master's Hand of Glory, for instance, on a Dragon Lord.
Well, he has to succeed on his casting value check first.
Yeah.
It's not like he's doing this for free either.
Right.
You know, like again,
I think it's an incredibly low roll, but I have to check it.
I think this is an overcorrection in the steering. They're perceiving a problem that's not a problem.
He casts on a fucking 5. It's still failable. It's not like it's not failable. It's just
like failing the 5-inch
easy.
charge. It's like failing the 5-inch charge.
Yeah.
It happens to everybody.
It happens to everybody.
It happens to everyone.
Yeah.
On a long enough timeline playing the game, you'll fail your 5-inch charges just like everybody else.
You'll fail your 3-inch charges. You'll roll those double ones. I mean, if you're death, you never will, because you can always charge 6 no matter what. But that's a choice you made when you chose not to play death.
Choose a better army. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you feel bad, just go play Stormcast Turtles, because you know you'll always get everything.
Well, not a better army, but an army that does things that you care about. So, like, if the most infuriating thing in the world for you is failing 3-inch charges, well, brother, there are some armies you can play where they literally cannot. And so you probably choose that. Like, that's a thing.
Well, that's the thing.
If like, what you hate is failing armor saves, you know? Like, there are armies for you. If what you hate is mortal wounds, you hate mortal wounds so much, we'll play Nurgle. You get a 5-up against all of them.
Or Pestilence, just...
Or Fire Slayers, you get a 4-up against them. Jesus. Or Pestilence, and turn it against
them.
Play
120, like, rats that you don't care about, and when they die, they put the wounds right back where they belong.
Everything's a mortal wound against Pestilence. They don't have a save.
Right.
So, like, a 1 damage attack with no rend, that's a mortal wound.
You can't fail a save, you never roll.
Yeah, that thinking meme, yeah. Like, the opponent kills 40 rats, and you give them a high five and a little gold sticker. Your prize is the next 40. How many do you hit 200? Oh, jeez. I don't count to 80 of them are under the ground. Oh. Look out, sir, is a rule. If you want to snipe a hero who's within 3 inches of another enemy unit...
Speaking of unnecessary changes...
you suffer a -1 to hit him. So, okay. Certain ranged units became a lot worse. For instance, like, I'm looking at you, Long Strikes, who hit on a 2-up, and when they roll a 6, it does 2 mortal wounds. Well, now they cannot roll a 6. And so, their job is character sniping, and you pay a lot for them. And so now they're probably not worth playing, which is too bad. But all this means is that if people who really want to hero snipe you, they do so in other ways. Instead of with...
with spells.
Instead with, like, spells. I mean, you get to try to unbind it, though. You get that roll, man.
You do get that 30-inch roll. That might succeed.
You were going to get an 18-inch roll probably anyway, but...
This was again, I think this is a perceived problem that's not a problem that they're addressing. I don't think...
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely. But you can't tell, like rule of game design, you cannot tell your players that they are wrong, even if they are wrong. You just can't. If your players are complaining about hero sniping when it's not really a problem, and they think it's a problem for them because their army is weak to that, right? Well, that's your army's weakness.
We can't all be great at everything.
Like, I think massive regiments are a problem because that's Beastclaw's weakness, you know, among many. But no, it's a wrong way to go.
Have you encountered in any of your play? Actual humans that complain about this, or is this just a problem that exists on the internet because the 40k players say it's a problem?
Oh, people fucking hate it.
Oh,
you have no idea how much people hate that. Thunder Tusks, dude. Like, okay, competitively they're not very good, but they might as well. It might as well be called Frost Wreathed Salt instead of Frost Wreathed Ice.
Yeah, but you're
like this fucking Thunder Tusk gallops up to you with its tongue lolling out of its mouth, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna roll this d6 here on a 2-up. All right, character's dead. Like, Folded Dead. Is it? Do I roll this? No. That's 6 mortal wounds. How many wounds does he have? 5? Alright, he's... Got him. And they're like, that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, but only noobs say this. Only new players.
Well, of course. Monster who can only do one thing and costs 400 points, kills 100-point hero. Yeah, oh, the humanity. Once you know anything about the game, you play 3 games of Age of Sigmar, you'll never lose to that again.
Yeah.
But early, like you're playing your first or second game, you know, and character sniping is your biggest complaint in the whole game.
You're not going to have to roll to do that for your Thunder Tusk anymore. I believe they just changed that.
Oh, did they?
I believe so. I thought that was one of the things they teased. Perhaps I might be just lying to you.
I would have known. I would have zeroed in on that. This video would be talking about just that, and none of these other changes.
Fair enough.
Because it's that important to me. If anything, I bet it's getting nerfed.
Why? Oh, right, because...
Look, it doesn't matter if it's really a problem, it just matters if people hate it.
Fair enough.
That's it. So... You know, honestly, the -1 to hit is not...
It's not
too terrible of a deal. They could have made way worse changes. They could have adopted 40k's thing and just said, no, you can't target them. And it would have ushered in a new era of Hero Hammer, where every monster hero is completely worthless because they can be targeted, and so they'll just get killed. Why would you not take in an invincible god? Like, oh, he has 5 wounds. Doesn't matter. He has infinite wounds. You can't target him. You know? And so, like, ooh, it's a monster. It has 12 wounds. He's dead. So, I mean, that would have been disastrous. The Lookout Sir. I mean, I grumble about Lookout Sir a little bit, I suppose, but it's, you know, it could have been so much worse. And it's not really a big deal, so I guess I don't give a shit. That's the sentence I could say about a lot of these changes. However, let's talk about how shit Arcane Bolt and Mystic Shield are now.
They're
classic nerfs. Oh boy. Mystic Shield before, one of the best spells in the game. Casting value of 6, friendly unit with an 18. Get +1 on their save rolls. This is the bread and butter of all spellcasting. It's the reason you took wizards, for the most part, in your entire army. In retrospect, probably too good, and although I call it a huge nerf and I say the spell mostly sucks now, it doesn't. It's just, in retrospect, it definitely was OP. It was better than they thought it was going to be in many ways. Currently, or rather, in 2nd edition, Mystic Shield lets you reroll failed save rolls of 1 until your next hero phase in that unit. This is a lot worse, but it's still good, depending on how good the thing's save already is that you're casting it on.
It has become kind of, I don't know, a little bit more ineffectual against Rend, right? Like, it was already not that great against Rend before.
No, it was great against, like, Rend is too good too, but that's another tangent. Rend is too good.
I mean, it negates Rend 1, you know? Like, it was what Mystic Shield did before. And like...
But if your opponent doesn't have Rend 1, you're still casting Mystic Shield, and now they're just even more fucked. And so they have to play with Rend, or they're retarded.
Yes. Yeah.
And then once again, the Pestilence player stands on a rock and laughs. Oh, you're Rend. Ooh. See, this is what I'm saying about, like, if you don't like... There are choices for people who don't like certain things. Arcane Bolt now definitely sucks. I suppose we'll see, you know, what all is changing. But if you thought Arcane Bolt was basically no good before...
Barely castable before.
Yeah. And you were right. But oh boy. 1 mortal wound, and then if the casting roll is 10 or more, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds instead. Now notice, unlike the Lores of the Dead, it's not a natural roll of a 10, it is a result of 10. So Nagash on a 7 does a D3 mortal wounds with Arcane Bolt, so that's cool. But yeah, the spell's much worse now. Both of the spells are much worse now. So could it be that magic is getting expanded and given to a lot more people, and you can have a huge unbind range, but the spells that most people have access to are getting a little worse? And so it's like, well, we'll take these armies that don't have any casting and we'll give them a little bit, while maintaining the, if you're supposed to be magically dominant, you still are. And if you're supposed to be anti-magic, you still are. But the middle people get some stuff to do, at least in the magic phase sometimes.
Which, as you just pointed out, means you're not going to be doing anything.
Which means you're not going to do it. Because why would you want to do a shitty thing? Why would you want to do something poorly?
Yeah.
When you could focus your efforts on being great at something else.
Like the anti-magic horn builds and stuff, they're just going to they're not even going to roll their eyes at you because they're so busy stabbing your eyes out and rolling them for you as you try to cast a spell against them. Like, they're not even going to slow down. Because
those people are going to still be around. Like, dude, anti-magic Khorne, they're building their army so that they can do something against Tzeentch. What the fuck are you going to do to them with your fucking butcher who's, like, eating haggis, you know, and, like, his spittle is flying out of his mouth when he's casting the spell? Like, what's he going to do against somebody who's rolling up with equipment that's going to, like, try to take on Nagash? And you're just like, I'm going to cast Hungering Maw, and they're just, shh, sleep now. And the shadow, like, enlarges over their body because there's this Sigor rock getting tossed, like, from 29.9 inches away. Anyway, I don't care. Sigors get really close anyway, so it's not a big deal.
Like what you were mentioning before, I'm not really, like, my jimmies on a rustled scale are probably only at about a 3. But as a man who's normally like just indifferent, I think that's saying a lot.
Yeah. But you know, we got a show. We got to be entertaining.
Right.
So let's talk about Banishment, the most bullshit spell in the entire game, and that's amazing considering Tzeentch is an army. This spell is called Banishment, aka Begone Thought. Begone Thought has a casting value of 8. If successfully cast, pick an enemy unit within 12 of the caster that is visible to them. Remove that unit from the battlefield and set it up again on the battlefield along the far board edge 1 millimeter onto the table in a line 55 inches away. And they're pretty much out of the game. You cast a spell on an 8 and an 800 point unit are just gone. Whisked onto the far table edge forever. This is bullshit, obviously. I can't believe that this would be like a matched play spell because it's so ludicrous in what it does. And that leads me to believe that the custom realm spells are not for matched play, any of them. In which case, narrative players, open players, enjoy. I use the word enjoy with some amount of sarcasm because this seems like it might as well be a Nurgle spell because it is pure fucking cancer. Oh, here's a combo. Banishment, right? You can remove that unit from the battlefield, set it up again on the battlefield, more than 9 from enemy units, and more than 24 inches from the caster. So, if you're in, like, Phoenix Order Wizards... Oh, let's put Grifthounds in our army now. Or, no, here we go. You're playing Aether Strike, right? Stormcast. The ones that have 1 million long strikes that all get to shoot in the hero phase and normally. And they also get to shoot whenever one of their units is destroyed, like wiped out. So we put some Grifthounds in there and a wizard with Banishment. Cast Banishment on a unit and just sets it up 9.1 inches away from a Griffhound, which triggers Grifthounds. If somebody sets up near you, you get to shoot them, and all the long strike get to shoot them off the table. Are we having fun? Isn't expanding magic great?
I don't...
Like, obviously you can't. Like, none of these spells are match play, but oh boy. Like, apparently this is what open play players love. Is completely unfair bullshit. and so this is the perfect spell for them. They should love this.
Well, that's
If they like summoning 40 skeletons every turn for the whole game for free, then they'll love this.
Is this for narrative play then? Open play? Like,
It doesn't say it, but with a spell like this, it has to be.
think so?
Yeah.
I could totally see Tzeentch doing this constantly.
They wouldn't nerf Mystic Shield and then make you can teleport your opponent to a board edge. Like, you know, on an 8. They wouldn't do it. They wouldn't dare.
I thought that... Okay.
Games Workshop in the past might have made an accident this huge. They're getting better. I don't think they're capable of fucking up this hard. You can quote that, take it out of context in this video. Like in 2 months in 2 weeks when this shit's released, I will edit out that chunk of this video and put it in there on repeat, and if it's legal in matched play, and I'll just make a video called HeyWoah is wrong for 10 minutes in all capitals, and it's just that on loop for 10 minutes and 1 second.
And then I'm gonna make a video that is a copy of that video with notably lower quality audio.
And like mirror it so it's flipped, so it's technically different. Yeah,
mirror it, and then
call it whatever the news is for that week that people want to click on. Like new budget bill announced.
Maybe make a techno remix.
Yeah,
like,
that song in the background.
Yeah.
Alright, so that's magic. That's Lookout Sir, that's command abilities, that's turn priority. That's new addition, that's expanded hero phase. Any other minor things to touch upon?
Yeah, I mean, they mentioned expanded narrative. I don't know that we need to really touch much on that, but hey, yay, more narrative.
Great, more narrative.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good.
Expanded narrative means expanded distance between your unit and your opponent's unit you just cast Banishment on in a narrative game. That's what they really mean.
Yeah.
Begone thought.
quite
Target thought begones. Oh yeah, persistent magic. Those awful Pokemon-looking models that you can scoot around the table with spells. Those guys are going to be affected by the double turn somehow, apparently.
See, mine looks really stupid. So
Coughing looks stupid. The Great Maw looks cool. The Fire one looks okay. Man, that floating purple skull looks really fucking stupid, though.
Yeah.
Time to do a custom one. You're gonna have to.
Fucking stupid, like...
Well, they got the skull part right. It's just everything else is wrong.
Well, they made it look like one of those
It looks like a spore,
like,
yeah.
Like a water mine or like a virus that you catch. Like, I am not Nurgle, nor am I Ideneth Deepkin. Why does this look like either of these things?
Or a giant purple piece of pollen.
A testicle that really needs to be shaved.
Oof.
Like it's getting out
It
of
looks like a
control.
Slanesh testicle with a skull on it.
The skull. Ugh, just get rid of this. Why?
Yeah, I'm really surprised by how stupid this looks, considering all their recent models have knocked it out of the park. I guess, you know, every now and then, you know, a clunker can slip through. It's too bad it's something that everyone has to use.
And it is most assuredly a clunker that slipped through. Like, just
yeah, that's what it looks like. Well, it looks like a clinger, to be honest. What else? Summoning. Finally doing away with the awful band-aid that was reinforcement points. Instead, you accrue points over the course of the game in some way, and you can summon based on that, which is very balanceable. They have the tools to be able to balance that. Who knows if they will. But, you know, we saw it with corruption points for Nurgle. We saw it with Blood Tithe with Blades of Corn. We got previewed it with Slanesh and what is it, degeneracy points or whatever, lewdness modifier. I'm not sure what it is, but you know.
Yeah, they're so lewd. They're almost inappropriate.
So either if a thing can bring itself back, they'll just cost that into its war scroll. It's easy. Or, you know, if you can summon a new unit to the table via points, they'll just make it cost a bunch of, you know, whatever, your lewdness points. And then there you go, it's balanced.
In theory.
In theory, I'm sure there's going to be some lists that just double down on corruption points and get to summon a million things, and they're going to have to find some way to change it, but currently it conceivably could be balanced. And reinforcement points are a shit system, and I'm glad it's dying.
Depravity points, by the way, is what you're
Oh, sorry, depravity points, pardon me.
You'll score 1 for every wound your heroes inflict on a foe without killing them.
That's going to have to be worded better.
Or every non-fatal wound they receive in return.
Ooh.
Stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
They're going to have to word that better, because the way it reads currently, at least, like, in a certain way, is if somebody has 5 wounds and you deal 5 damage to them, well, 4 of those were non-lethal, and so you get 4 depravity point, then I'm sure that's probably not what they intend. So they're going to have to word it a little tighter, but I get what they're talking about. It's a little unfortunate that they get points by sucking. Although that too, I suppose, is a little thematic.
Hey-o.
Because you get points when you fail to kill something, right?
I mean, look at these demonic mounts. You tell me that they don't suck. They look a lamb.
Oof. Why do you think people fall to Slaanesh?
Someone's gotta.
Yeah. This is a god that demands you bend the knee. Also, somebody said it best, official Facebook for Age of Sigmar. If you're going to chain up and torture a god, might as well be, you know, the one that's into it.
Right.
And
right.
Warhammer community, like, moderator himself responded, oh, fair, that's fair.
Oh, man. Like, it's just, like, Slaanesh has actually just been powering up this whole time.
After reading that and thinking about it for a moment, I'm like,
this is just
dude, there's
plan.
a non-zero chance this all could have been part of Slaanesh's plan, considering how much he would actually enjoy this.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
you gotta wonder.
This is Slaanesh's just his planned moment, like...
Right, except it doesn't hurt anyone else, you know? It's like just as planned. And everyone else is like, okay. Like, Nagash is just as planned. He summons an entire new legion of ghosts, you know, to punish Sigmar and stuff. Like, Khorne's great fruition of a plan is to cause war everywhere. And Slaanesh's great, like, plan is just to get chained up between 2 dimensions and just be kind of out of everyone's hair for a while. Like, okay.
It's like Tzeentch gone wild, you know?
Right, yeah.
Slaanesh.
Tzeentch gone fun.
Yeah.
What other minor things? Everchosen. The Lords of Chaos. The Everchosen, an army where your basic cavalry are whole units of Chaos Lords. Yes, really. Archaon's personal army is the most elite army in the game. Fucking try me, bitch. That's where I post a picture of Beastclaw, my 2K list that has 10 models in it for 2,000 points. Fucking try me. I am more elite by the specific definition of elite, which means low model count. But I get what they're trying to say, and that is cool. I just had to call them out. Quote, Archaon will be receiving some small changes in the new edition, but his command ability will remain almost unchanged. Emphasis mine. So it is getting a tweak. I've seen a lot of people say that it's not going to be changed, and that's strictly incorrect. It's going to remain almost unchanged. Mm-hmm. And we're, what is it? His points are definitely going down, because they should. Because he's not as good as what he costs. Currently. Were there other tidbits dropped in specific armies? Fire Slayer's armies are defined by their heroes. This is wrong. They are defined by 90 Volkite Berserkers. And the criminally undercosted broken Rune Smiter, who can teleport any unit for free automatically. So easy. So good. Fire Slayer players will love the host of new magical artifacts available to them. So they're getting new artifacts. And they don't really need them because they got traits, artifacts, and allegiance abilities in the last General's Handbook, and they were good. So they're getting new ones now. This isn't me complaining, actually, even though it probably sounds like it. This is me being happy. Because if an army that doesn't need it at all is getting new artifacts and shit, it means that armies who desperately need them because they have nothing are probably going to get them too. So I'm pleased. Never stop smashing and bashing. The Ironjaws have one of the best allegiance abilities in the game. I fucking laugh. I point and I laugh. This is so wrong. It was the person typing this had to like spell check this sentence because he was laughing so hard his hands were shaking at smashing and bashing being one of the best allegiance abilities in the game. Incredible. One of the best allegiance abilities in the game could be you roll 9 dice and then for the rest of the game you get to cheat. How about that? Is that one? How much worse is that one than smashing and bashing? Come on.
Hey man, when it works, it freaking works.
Dude, when it works, it does freaking work.
And that's more than some abilities, and so maybe
that's true. This is one of the persistent spells that you can cast. And this one, unlike the massive coughing testicle, looks cool. And it's fucking huge. Which is sweet. Ravening Hunger. Hopefully it does something interesting. Like if it just did like whatever, D3 mortal wounds, it would be really fucking boring and stupid. Ravening Hunger. After this model has moved, each unit that has any models it passed across, and each other unit that is within 1 inch of it at the end of its move, suffers D3 mortal wounds. Come on. It's so boring. In addition, subtract 1 from the bravery characteristic of each unit. Ooh boy. -1 bravery. Yeah, okay. So, I'm sad. I thought persistent spells would be interesting and cool. Instead, they are boring. And half of them look really stupid. Perhaps I'll change my tune when we discover more. But, yeah. Consider me quite unimpressed. We talk about Tzeentch. Player perspective. What attracted you to it? It was the models at first. You liar. It was the models, and then it shows like fucking wiggly ass like Zangors and stuff, and then there's like a parakeet with a wiggly neck just sort of flying around. It was the models.
I think it's currently vomiting out its own lung in like. I find this entire sentence a little bit later on. See, I've been reading and rereading this in the meantime, and I just find this entire paragraph to be offensive. The increased range for unbinding is good news for Tzeentch. While it's true that you'll have to position your sorcerers more carefully to help stop your own spells from being unbound, odds are you'll have more spells than your opponent has. Like, that's true. How are you needing to carefully position so that you can get your spells off? Because they know that you're going to be on a Balewind Vortex. That's
right.
They know it. Like, you might only be casting 36 inches. You got to be a single movement away. You got to be 6 inches away from that 30-inch unbind. Go to hell. So here I am just
You're going to have to position you guys really carefully to automatically cast a spell, and your opponent has a fat chance of unbinding it. Oh no, he's talking about you're going to have to carefully position your Gaunt Summoner on top of a Balewind Vortex, and then you're in plenty. Yeah, you're plenty far away then.
Yeah, he's got some real pointy eyes. You don't want him falling off and snapping his they look like tuning forks. Right. You know, like you really don't. Yeah, well.
Oh, here is a good paint job on a Tzeentch model. That's very rare to see. How nice.
Too bad it's got AIDS growing out of its wings.
It does have a lot of bugs or something. I'm not sure what those are supposed to be.
They're time glasses, I think.
Time glasses. Oh, so this is Mechanisms of Time. This is a different one of the, this is like the Ravening Maw, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Except one of the other Winds of Magic.
Mm-hmm.
In the controlling player's hero phase, single wizard within 9 may manipulate it. You can either speed it up to add 2-inch move to all units on the battlefield, and add 2 charge rolls for all units on the battlefield, or you can slow down wizard manipulating the Kongs, cast 1 additional spell. In addition, reroll failed save rolls for that wizard. Okay. So remember when I said that Ravening Maw fucking sucked?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mechanisms of Time is fucking amazing.
Yeah, well, it's Tzeentch.
So of course. Of course. Ravening Maw is absolute absolute garbage compared to this thing. Oh my god. Now,
See,
everybody gets this. Like, when it's your turn, you get it. When your opponent's turn, they get it. And so there's the balance there, I suppose.
In their controlling player's hero phase.
Yeah.
I would imagine that you're the controller if you cast the spell. You don't just like pass the.
Well,
pass
no,
the
like
dog.
you can fight over these things somehow. I don't know how they haven't said how the mechanics work. But when you summon one of these things, your enemy can take control of it somehow. And whether it be on your turn it's yours, on their turn it's theirs, or if they have to wrestle it from you or not. But yeah, so that's the danger of these spells, is that your opponent can get them as well. Can get their bonus to them.
Good luck beating a freaking Tzeentch model in a wizard off.
Right. If it's any sort of roll off, the Tzeentch player is going to win. But who knows if it's going to be like that or not.
Oh, I just find it interesting that the army supposed to be about having better tactics and just like outthinking you has the least amount of thinking to do possible.
Yeah, it is the easiest army to play in the entire game.
Like anything that would be a high risk play for another player, you know, like where you actually have to think about it. Like, do I try this charge? You know, do I move into position to get this charge? If I fail this charge, I'm going to get counter charge, and that's going to be really bad. Good thing I have these dice here to save my ass. I can just the high risk
like
play.
If you get outpositioned or outplayed, or this is going to be you have almost infinite options to always get out of that situation, or turn really high risk plays into sure bets. Obviously, there's a high skill ceiling involved with tons of options and tons of control, but it definitely raises the skill floor. Like, people shit on Khorne and Ironjaws for being easy to play. They're not. They're easy to play wrong, and they're easy to lose with, but they're not easy to play well. And it is easy to play Tzeentch well, because it sort of does everything for you. It holds your hand with everything. Oh man, I only have 9 fate dice, so I'm going to have to think really carefully about them. Nah, you got a spell to add dice to it. Like, it's just everything. So, don't worry. Don't worry. Oh, but my units are kind of fragile. Like, I have really bad saves. Except for the, massive regiments of them that get to surround melee armies like foam that they can never fully get through. And in the Battle Shock phase, you can roll a 1 and regenerate 6 of them if you want. And you have spells that are defensive that can protect them as well. But aside from that, yeah, their saves are pretty low. Like, they're pretty bad saves. Aside from all of these things that work to counteract that downside, I suppose there is a downside underneath all those. Spearhead of Contagion, Plague of Flies, Lords of Nurgle, like classic stuff. Cool, so if your army just has a group of command abilities you get to use, that's nice. I think that's cool. As long as everyone gets that, it's cool. As always.
Right. Just
like Battalions, just like, all the other stuff about command points. As long as everybody gets this stuff. An equal amounts of it, roughly. Or is balanced to not have it, instead of just accidentally doesn't have it and is worse off.
Like lore spells with
right.
Sylvaneth. Not Sylvaneth.
Seraphon.
Seraphon.
The Emerald Life Swarm is one of the new endless spells, but rather than kill your enemies, the power heals your forces, a great boon to the already resilient army. You're right, it is already almost impossible to kill them. I'm glad they have this now. I mean, okay, your opponent gets to heal too, if he gains control of it, but... So there's a heal, so as far as the, endless spells, there's a heal one. There's one that does a D3 mortal wounds and really sucks. And then there's one that alters the mechanisms of time and is so fucking good that its only downside is that since it's an endless spell, your opponent can get it too. And in that way, you both have something overpowered. And so maybe it's not worth doing. Nah, I'm kidding. Who cares if their wizards have an extra spell when they don't have good wizards or any?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, you can cast 2 spells now. All right, I unbind the first one and I unbind the second one. My turn? It's like you're a blue player all over again.
Yep.
All right, there we
Miracles.
go. So general thoughts on second edition, considering that we have only tiny little spoilers that are pieces of a larger whole, that a lot of our assumptions have to do with what else we'll see and if things are similar to the things we've seen, but overall, I'm glad there's stuff to do on your opponent's turn. I hope there's more than what we've seen. But I hope there's not too much, obviously. You know, anything you can do on your opponent's turn besides roll saving throws and watch him kill all your guys is good, in my opinion. Some people say, I have seen, that now the game is too complicated with all of this stuff. And you took something that was a streamlined, simple game, and now you're making it way too complicated. And I have to passionately disagree. First with the premise, and then with the assumption that it's a bad thing. So first, no, it's not becoming more complicated. If all of these rules are in the same place, it's already easier to digest than current Age of Sigmar is.
Right.
You're reading the rules of Age of Sigmar. You have to go to their website and find the FAQ to figure out how most of those rules actually work. Secondly, to know that battalions are one drop, or can reduce the number of drops in your army, or that even matters, you have to read specifically the battalion explanation, which isn't in the basic rules, and isn't in the General's Handbook. It's only in the battalion explanations in your battle tome.
Yeah,
these rules are just all over to read the rules of one, you have to have the General's Handbook, otherwise you wouldn't know it exists, and you're going to try to play match play without it. Like, these rules are all over the fucking place, literally. And most of them are getting replaced with new ones. And so it's like, okay, there's no artifact with a battalion, but there is a command point with a battalion. So kind of like same thing. And if it's all in the same fucking place, it's going to be... Yeah, you're adding some complexity to the game, but the fact that you can read it in the rules in the one place means it's simpler to even know what it is. And this is fine.
Well, I actually think of Age of Sigmar 2.0, which is what everyone's calling it. I actually think this is really like we're live now.
Yeah.
We've been in alpha, which is when it was just all Vietnam and there were no rules and the points weren't even made up yet.
Right, yeah. That was definitely alpha because the game was broken and it didn't even install on some people's machines.
Yeah, it was
like
pay
mine.
to play.
I was not a buyer.
Yeah. pay to play alpha like Minecraft was.
Just like, oh, can I have a fair game? No, there are no points. Peace out.
Yeah, and then for the most part after the first
General's Handbook became beta.
You've been in builds of beta, and with 2.0...
Literally, it was beta for 40k 8th edition, because they took what the GHB did and they put it into Warhammer 40k, and it made 40k quite popular.
Yes, and I think that now with 2.0, we're going live, son. Like we're finally going live.
Yeah,
and I think that it is going to be a net more refined product. And I think that's a good thing. That's only a good thing. Quibble as I may about a 30-inch unbind and how stupid it is, like just arbitrarily, like it's inconvenient in certain situations. And as a person that plays Nagash, I can really get behind being inconvenienced and how much I should overreact.
Right.
But it's not. Yeah, it's not. None of this stuff is like game breaking. I just think it's just a little bit more of a refined product. We're finally ready to go live to market, and I think you're going to see a little bit of an influx of players. I do think they took the best thing from 40k, which was command points, which stratagem, the little cards or whatever.
Yeah.
They didn't overdo it from the looks of it, which would have been my fear. Is like you get command points and you get command points, like
or you get so many of them, like everybody has like 12.
Yeah. You just like
I'm glad they kept it real, like
tight, one a turn.
You have like 3 at the beginning of the game if you have tons of battalions and you paid for them and stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get 1 a turn. And there you go.
Yeah. And that's just enough to interact with the things that were kind of already a nuisance before, or streamline something like Inspiring Presence.
I mean, having something like 9 would just be way too powerful, am I right? It could have been so much worse. and it's not really a big deal, so I guess I don't give a shit. That's the sentence I could say about a lot of these changes.